I chased after Tom for 4 years, and finally, right before he graduated from college, he accepted my confession. Looking back, you could say we went from college sweethearts to marriage. Sadly, it ended in divorce. After a car accident, I lost my memory and went back to the time in senior year when Tom still hadn't accepted me. I looked at the mature, homely Tom of today and was drooling. Lying on the hospital bed, I gazed at Tom, who was cutting fruit for me, with lustful eyes. When he handed me the fruit, I grabbed his hand, feeling it up and down, unable to stop. Wow, nice. This hand must be fun to play with. And it's actually mine. I joked. Tom gave me a speechless look but didn't pull away, just warned me not to say anything silly when our kid comes in, didn't want to mess up the kid. Of course, I'd agree to that. Mom. A soft, sweet voice snapped me back to reality. I quickly put on a gentle smile and hugged the little one rushing into my arms. Wow, Tom and I definitely made a beautiful child. I studied her little face in awe. Mom, does it hurt? Touching my face, she asked with concern. No, it doesn't. Mom's a superhero, I said, making her giggle. Tom watched us warmly from the side. 3 days later, I was discharged. Returning home, the size and grandeur of the place stunned me. I learned that Tom is now a hotshot in the business world, but I didn't expect our house to be so grand. It's nothing short of an estate. I glanced at Tom with even more admiration. Where's our room? I asked casually as I walked in. Suddenly, silence. I looked at Tom, puzzled. We've always slept in separate rooms, he said in a low voice. Hearing that, I was shocked, first thinking maybe we had a contractual marriage. After all, I loved him so much. I asked awkwardly, and to my surprise, Tom chuckled softly. It was you who wanted separate rooms, he explained. I instinctively asked why, but he didn't answer. No matter, I finally got my dream guy. No way would I sleep separately. I cheerfully canceled the separate room thing and started moving my stuff to the master bedroom. I had lots of stuff, but I moved just the essentials for now, the rest could wait. Some personal things weren't suitable for the staff to handle. By the 4th day, I made it to the study. I stared at the safe, clueless. Yep, I forgot the password too. I tried the date I first met Tom, and the safe opened. Wow, I really love Tom. I mentally patted myself on the back. Inside was just one document, a divorce agreement. I stared at the paper, stunned. How could I ever want to divorce Tom? What are you looking at? Tom's voice came from behind. No time to hide the document. His reaction shocked me. He grabbed the document from my hand, gripping my arm. Linda, you're divorcing me? I didn't know how to answer. My hesitation enraged Tom. He scooped me up, carried me straight to the master bedroom, and tossed me on the bed, then started undressing. Seeing him like that, I nervously backed away. He caught my ankle, pulling me under him. He pinned my hands above my head, eyes red. Linda, you started this. Don't think you can leave me. On the soft master bed, I was forced to submit. The next morning, Tom was gone. Breakfast sat on the coffee table. I moved my sore body, cursing Tom under my breath. I got up painfully, washed up, and ate breakfast while plotting how to handle Tom. Finished eating, I tried to walk in the garden but found the door locked. I banged on the door. The housekeeper hesitantly said Tom didn't allow them to unlock it. Furious but knowing it was pointless to lash out at them, I sulked back to the bed. Tom returned, and I was still mad. Even just my silhouette showed how upset I was. Tom crouched beside me, looking up. Slap. I slapped him without remorse. Instantly regretful. After all, Tom had the right to be angry at the divorce paper. I'd be mad too. His aggression and locking me up maybe, kinda made sense. As I pondered this, Tom suddenly embraced me, pleading with a choked voice. Linda, don't leave me, please. Wait, is Tom crying? I turned slightly and saw his red eyes, a tear glistening at the corner. My anger evaporated into excitement. Oh my God, Tom cried for me. He looks so good crying, makes me want him to keep crying. The evil thought crossed my mind. I patted Tom's back comfortingly, softly saying, "No divorce, we're definitely not divorcing." My tone full of joy. Tom buried his face in my neck, hiding the pain in his eyes. Our relationship got even better after that blow-up. Yet, I felt I'd forgotten something. Watching our kid shout Mom. From a distance, I suddenly remembered. Mom and Dad. I hadn't seen them since I woke up. I immediately called them, but the number was no longer in service. I dialed the number again, confused, but it was still unavailable. What's up? Tom walked up from behind. Tom, did Mom and Dad change their phone numbers? Why can't I get through? I spun around anxiously, clutching my phone. Tom hesitated for a moment. Yeah, Mom changed her number. She's been traveling a lot these past couple of years. I didn't catch the flaw in Tom's words and just assumed my parents were traveling together. Wow, that's so romantic. I won't interrupt their alone time then. We should totally travel when we're older too. Lost in dreams of our future, I didn't notice Tom's awkward expression. The next day was the weekend, and I realized I hadn't spent much time bonding with my child, so I decided to take her to the amusement park. At breakfast, I happily announced the plan. My child looked at me in surprise. But, Mom, you signed me up for an advanced math class today. For a second, I thought I misheard. Me? Signing up my 4-year-old daughter for an advanced math interest class? I took a deep breath, struggling to understand. I placed a peeled egg in her mouth and casually asked her about what I used to be like. I shook my head firmly and said to her, "From now on, we're skipping that math class. Kids should be the happiest girls in the world." She lifted her hands, cheering, "Long live Mommy." Before I knew it, the year's end was here, and my memory hadn't returned. I couldn't tell if it was just me, but every time I mentioned my memory issues to the doctor, Tom seemed to silently exhale in relief. I didn't think much of it, though. Today, I was going to join Tom at his company's annual party. I got up early to get dressed, aiming to dazzle everyone there. Luckily, it went really well. But at the party, quite a few people kept sneaking glances at me. Was my beauty really that shocking to them? I thought to myself quietly. Midway through, I headed to the restroom. "Hey, did you see Tom's wife looking all beautiful today?" I was about to leave but froze on hearing those compliments about me and stepped back into the room. Hee, love to hear more praises like that. Yeah. Looks so different from 2 years ago. Then again, anyone would be devastated in not seeing their dad for the last time, right? Totally, it takes me back to when Tom first started his business. His wife looked so radiant every day. Their voices faded, but I stood there stunned. What do they mean I didn't get to see my dad one last time? Weren't Dad and Mom supposed to be traveling together? I pulled out my phone, wanting to make a call but realized Tom never gave me Mom's new number. In a daze, I walked out, flagged a cab, mumbling the name of a cemetery. I climbed the steps, my memories returning piece by piece. I remembered. 3 years after marrying Tom, Dad was diagnosed with late-stage liver cancer. It felt like the sky was falling. But it was also a critical time for Tom's startup. I had to juggle both, often taking my work to the hospital, staying with Dad while working. That day Tom had to attend a private dinner party. The host's wife, a senior of mine, insisted Tom bring me along. I planned to stay at the hospital with Dad that night. But Dad convinced me to go with Tom. The dinner was on a hill far from the hospital. I thought it was just another evening. But right in the middle of it, Mom called, said Dad wasn't doing well. By the time I reached the hospital, Dad was gone. I sat, dazed, in the hospital corridor, with Tom kneeling in worry before me. Why did you take me to that dinner? I was supposed to be with Dad. Tom, it's your fault I missed seeing Dad for the last time. My voice was hoarse. Tom stared at me, guilty. I tried standing up, holding onto him, and fainted in his arms. I found out I was 2 months pregnant. During the pregnancy, I was gloomy all the time. Thankfully, the baby was born healthy. When our baby turned 1 month, I drafted a divorce agreement. But seeing our child so young, I didn't bring it up. My mental state, however, was deteriorating. I obsessively believed Dad's death was my fault. I wasn't strong enough to find him a better doctor, to refuse my senior, so I didn't see Dad one last time. I projected this obsession onto my child. I signed her up for all sorts of classes, even at her young age. And regretted it every time I was clear-minded. Eventually, the mental anguish led to my breakdown, and I ran out, getting into a car accident. I walked up to Dad's gravestone, seeing his familiar face on it, and collapsed sobbing. By the time Tom found me, it was midnight. He gently held me in his arms. I used his arm to stand up. Tom, we can't do this anymore. I looked at him, devastated. Tom clutched me in panic. No, Linda, we're not over. We will never be over. I broke free from his embrace, pointing at the grave, yelling. Tom, tell me how we can go on. This gravestone will forever stand between us, impossible to remove. Tom's eyes were red, with tears or rain, voice shaky. Linda, you promised you wouldn't leave me. It doesn't count anymore. I responded, exhausted. In the middle of the cemetery at night, 2 people in love stood before a grave, looking at each other with despair. A month later, I got the divorce papers. I got custody. Tom could see our child with advance notice, and I'd bring her over. I moved with her into the apartment Dad bought for me when he was alive. Feeling a bit guilty, I apologized to my child for moving her from a big house to a small apartment. But she hugged me tightly, saying she was just happy to be with me. I hugged my kid tightly, tears silently streaming down my face. I needed to quickly find a high-paying job to bring back the lifestyle my child used to have. Luckily, I have a degree from a prestigious university and the experience from working with Tom on startups, leading several projects. I successfully landed a job at an up-and-coming company. I didn't expect the boss there to be an old friend from school. She divorced her influential husband and started her own business. She personally recruited me. She made it a point to meet with me. I'm really sorry for not being able to let you see your dad one last time. I've wanted to apologize to you all these years but was afraid to upset you. Linda, I'm sorry, she said with remorse on her face. I shook my head, signaling my understanding. No one knew my father's illness would suddenly worsen. In the following days, I went about my work diligently and completed several projects successfully. Maybe because it was an all-female team, everyone got along really well. 6 months later, my friend managed to secure a project for me. It was building accommodations for volunteers in the desert. Not a huge project, but it promised recognition and awards if done well. I knew she was paving the way for me, and I was grateful. The day after receiving the project, I flew out to the desert for an on-site assessment. To my surprise, Tom showed up the next day. He claimed it was a company team-building event, though the disgruntled looks on his team's faces suggested otherwise. I frowned and asked about the kid. He casually said they were with his parents. I tried to pass by him towards the construction site. He followed me leisurely. I gave him a displeased look, but he insisted he was worried about my safety and wanted to escort me. I sighed, turned around, and decided not to worry about him anymore. The project's biggest challenge was the water supply. The area is far from the nearest settlement, and laying pipelines would be costly, not feasible for a non-profit project with a tight budget. As I pondered solutions, Tom walked beside me with a cheerful demeanor. Between the harsh winds and my exhausting travels, it was no surprise that I fell ill. That night, still working at my desk, Tom knocked on my door. He brought a bowl of red date and lotus seed soup. I found comfort in sweets under stress, and was surprised he'd make this at such an hour, borrowing the hotel kitchen, apparently. Firmly, he took my pencil and settled me in bed. "You say the ideas, I'll do the drawing," he offered, picking up the pencil himself. Knowing I was too weak to continue pushing myself, I didn't refuse him. Holding the bowl, I sat on the bed, watching Tom sketch through the soothing steam. Back when he started his business, I'd often take over his work, forcing him to rest. Now, our roles had reversed. Eventually, despite the hurdles, my plans were completed on time. I submitted the designs but stayed on, anticipating some client dissatisfaction. Contrary to my expectations, the approval was quick. I stared at Tom, seeking an explanation. His eyes shifted uneasily before he finally confessed. Seeing his earnest expression made me chuckle. "I'm not mad at you," I assured him. His relief was immediate. With the project progressing smoothly, I no longer needed to stay but had to keep tabs on its development. Tom and I had more contact due to our child. Tom frequently picked them up early, disrupting my plans to avoid seeing him. I'd hoped time would heal everything, yet watching my child play joyfully, I sighed in resignation. After the desert project ended, someone began pursuing me. He was a young, wealthy, charming vice president from a partner company, seemingly the perfect partner. Something about him felt off, though. After days of receiving flowers and gifts, I agreed to meet him. Sitting across each other at a cafe near my office, I cut straight to the chase. "David, I'm not looking to date or remarry." I'd effectively closed all doors. David replied with a wry smile, "You're direct." I smirked, saying it was best to be upfront about these things. Contrary to hopes, our candid talk didn't deter David. After several firm rejections, he invited me to dinner, claiming he was transferring soon and wanted one last meeting, promising never to bother me again. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet him. I didn't expect him to take me to a bar. I sat in the car, sternly asking him why. "They say bars heighten emotions. I wanted to try one last time," he admitted genuinely. Considering his sincerity, I went in with him, sending a live location update from my phone. At the designated spot, drinks awaited us. I declined the alcohol citing allergies. He quickly fetched me a fruit juice. Watching him with the drink, I couldn't help but note how prepared he was. But after drinking it, I felt faint. In a daze, I was led to a hotel where Tom's car was already parked. Relieved, I passed out. When I woke, I was in Tom's arms, his serene sleeping face next to me. Instinctively, my fingers reached to stroke his face. Startled, he murmured, "You're awake." My hand continued down, halting at his Adam's apple, which was slightly red. I pushed him aside, getting dressed and heading to the bathroom. Upon returning, breakfast was already laid out, and he greeted me to eat while he went to prepare himself. As we sat for breakfast, he asked, "When did you suspect something off about David?" "Right after I formally rejected him," I replied, taking a peeled egg. "His behavior was just too strange. A little digging revealed he was in your college batch. You're just as smart as always." Tom never hesitates to compliment me. I looked at his face, softened by the sunlight. Indeed, time never seems to ruin beauty. 7 or 8 years have passed, and Tom looks no different from our college days. I softly spoke up, "Tom, this time I've suffered misfortune because of you. Don't you think you owe me compensation?" Tom laughed too. "Sure, what do you want?" "Stop bothering me." My words hit him like a cold shower. His throat moved slightly, but he couldn't say anything. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and left. "Linda, you can't keep getting tangled up in this, you can't, I kept telling myself. Later, Tom texted me David's outcome. True to his word, he didn't bother me again. I stared at the message on my phone, lost in thought. During a rare vacation, I was building blocks with my kid in the living room. Unexpectedly, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find my mom standing there. Instantly, tears I couldn't hold back started flowing, and I fell into her arms, crying hard. Mom held me tight, gently rubbing my back. "You silly kid, how could you not tell me about such a big thing?" She pulled me to the couch to sit down. I looked down and didn't say a word. Mom didn't push either and went to the kitchen to make me a home-style meal, just like the old times. Before she left, I held her hand, asking her to stay. She patted my hand, saying, "No, I've already booked tickets to Switzerland. I'm taking your dad there to see it." My nose tingled again. After putting my kid to sleep, I returned to my room and found a USB drive on the desk. Next to it was a note from Mom. "Linda, your dad left this for you. I was afraid it would upset you before, but now it's time for you to have it." It contained videos of Dad, things he wanted to say to me each day. "Linda, I'm sorry I couldn't be there till the end. But you have your mom, Tom, many friends, and one day, your own kids. They'll all be there for you. Don't be afraid. Linda, I can't wait for you to come back. Please don't blame Tom. Live happily with him." I touched the screen with Dad's face and broke down in tears again. Overwhelmed, I fell sick once more. In a daze, I heard my kid calling Tom in tears. When I woke up, Tom was playing with the kid in the living room. He saw my thin clothes and carefully draped a shawl over me before stepping back to the kid. "The kid called me, crying that you're sick. That's why I came," Tom explained nervously. I simply said, "Sorry for the trouble," before getting a glass of water and returning to my room. At noon, Tom brought in some food. "You haven't been well. I think I should stay and take care of you. The kid needs someone around too." He watched my reaction closely. "Do as you wish." I turned, facing the window. After that day, I stopped rejecting Tom's presence. He started appearing more in my life. I tried hard to accept him again. We lived like that for a year. At work, my senior suddenly came to call me over. She told me that there was a problem with a project in City A and I needed to handle it urgently. I had to leave that afternoon. I messaged Tom to take care of the kid and flew to City A. Luckily, even though it was sudden, it wasn't too hard to solve. However, dealing with different parties took time, and I ended up staying a few extra days. On the last day, I was checking the construction progress when I heard noise in the distance. Voices calling Tom reached my ears. Tom had come. With assurance, he walked to my side amidst a crowd. "I've come to take you home." At that moment, I suddenly had the urge to remarry him. After briefing the situation, I headed back with Tom. On the drive, he kept telling me about all the mischief the kid got into recently. I listened and smiled. Gradually, I leaned my head back and drifted off to sleep. Until a huge jolt woke me. I opened my eyes to see Tom shielding me, holding me tight. I only had time to shout Tom before slipping unconscious again. When I awoke in the hospital, there were voices yelling for a doctor beside me. I was eager to know about Tom, but Mom held me down to let the doctors check on me. When that was finally over, I urgently asked Mom about Tom. Her eyes flickered with hesitation. She insisted I rest well and see Tom once I was better. Refusing to stay put, I started getting out of bed to find Tom. Mom pulled me back, reluctantly telling me about Tom's condition. During the crash, Tom protected me, sustaining severe injuries. Thankfully, he was treated in time, and now his status is stable. However, for some reason, he hadn't woken up yet. Mom held my hand, worry etched on her face. Hearing this, I was more anxious to see Tom, but Mom calmed me, saying, "You can't do much in your condition. Focus on recovering first, then you can take care of Tom." 2 weeks later, I could finally leave the hospital. The day I was discharged, I went straight to Tom's room. He still hadn't woken up. Seeing him noticeably thinner on the bed made my tears flow again. I sat next to him, holding his frail hand, softly speaking my heart. Tom, I've already lost Dad, I can't lose you too. I'm sorry, I won't be difficult anymore. Just wake up, and I'll agree to whatever you want. Tom, please wake up. My voice was thick with tears. All right, you said it. You'll agree to anything. A hoarse voice spoke suddenly above me. Shocked, I looked up. Tom was smiling at me. I quickly called for the doctors. The doctor gave Tom a thorough checkup, and the results were good. He just needs to be observed for 2 more days before he can be moved to the rehab ward. I stood at the foot of the bed, so happy I cried. Enough with the tears. If I cry anymore, my heart might just break. Tom reached out to me, and I sat by his bedside, listening to him talk nonsense. I lightly hit him, and Tom instantly clutched his chest and winced. I worriedly wanted to call the doctor again. But Tom grabbed me, his eyes shining, and said, "You said it, once I woke up, you'd agree to anything I ask." I pretended to have amnesia. Did I? I don't remember. Tom looked at me in shock, and I raised my eyebrows at him. A month later, Tom also recovered and was discharged. We went back to our regular lives. I didn't bring up getting married again, and Tom, being sensible, didn't mention it either. Still, he often gave me a sad, longing look. Every time, I'd look away. Our kid would cover their mouth and giggle at this, which would get Tom quite frustrated. Except for a marriage certificate, our life wasn't any different from a married couple's. 2 years later. The desert volunteer home I designed won an award. On the day of the ceremony, I kept stealing glances at Tom, which made him feel a bit uneasy. "What's up?" Tom cautiously asked me. I just smiled mysteriously and shook my head. I sat up straight and stopped looking at him, so now it was his turn to sneak glances at me. Tom and I were seated together. When the host called my name, Tom and I shared a light hug before I calmly walked up to the stage. I thanked the committee for giving me this award and everyone who had helped me along the way. Lastly, I wanted to thank someone special, my love, Tom. The spotlight was on Tom, the big screen showing his surprised face. I thanked him for staying by my side all these years, no matter what happened. I also thanked him for his contributions to the family, which allowed me to devote myself fully to work. Tom, I have a question for you. Will you marry me? Under the lights, Tom jumped up, practically sprinted to the stage, and loudly said I will into my microphone. The room erupted in applause. Even after the ceremony ended, Tom was still thrilled, telling everyone he met, "Yes, I'm marrying Linda." People couldn't help but laugh. 3 months later, Tom and I had a grand wedding. The next day, I took him to my father's grave for the first time. "Dad, I brought Tom to see you." So much I wanted to say, but these were the only words I spoke. Beside me, Tom held me and solemnly addressed the man in the picture on the headstone. "Dad, don't worry, I'll take good care of Linda." Just then, a white butterfly circled me and Tom before landing on the headstone. I couldn't help but cover my mouth. "Dad, are you blessing us too?" I leaned my head on Tom's shoulder, smiling as I looked at the butterfly.